like 6, so the route isn't even started until 6.
I
But
see.
there's some people at 6.
Oh, yeah.
You guys will remember we put 2 presentations on
Okay. Good, yeah.
I don't like to stop after 7. Weather was so nice. Except for the
wonderful.
first day, it rained the whole day, but it wasn't hot.
That's awesome,
So,
yeah.
that's great.
I like brain science.
Just spending, a whole day for a whole week outside.
Wonderful. Uh-huh. Oh, that's fantastic.
The weather was great, so that helps. And what I love too is that you could eat like
You're
5
riding like 100 miles a day, right? So
church dinner at night.
The red light's on.
church dinner at night, that's hilarious. That's good. Do we have one? I'm with Steve. All right, we'll start. Good evening. I call this Iowa City Community School Board meeting on Tuesday, August 13th, 2019 to order. My name is Janet Godwin, and I want to thank those in the audience, those watching on YouTube, and those following on Twitter for joining us tonight. I'll start by introducing those at the table with me. To my right, Directors Ruthina Malone, Phil Hemingway, Lori Rotland. To my left, Paul Ressler, Sean Eystone, J.P. Clausen, and Kim Colvin, Recording Secretary. Joining us too at the right is Superintendent Steve Murley. The public is reminded that if they wish to speak, they need to complete a speaker form found at the table in the lobby and turn it in. During community comment, persons may speak to the board about topics relevant to the district. All community comment directed at non-agenda items and agenda items shall take place at the beginning of the meeting during the community comment section of the agenda. And we will move into the community comment section of the agenda. We'll start with George Volk, followed by Leslie Carpenter.
Hi, good evening. Well, I feel like I'm a Shark Tank or something. But I was just an issue I was trying to get about. I'm a retired head custodian at City High since been retired since 2016. But I've still been working football games and track meets, outdoor events. And I went up with Phil, the new athletic director at City High last week. We had a meeting, walked around, went over everything for football. And then Monday, he got an email, he said from Chase that my services were no longer going to be needed. But he said, he said, contact Chase if I wanted to know why. And I know it's a busy time of year and everything, but I never got, I've called him 3 times, emailed him twice, never got any answer. And I'm just trying to figure out what is going on with that, because I think I at least deserve an answer to why. The only thing Scott Jesperson said, maybe it's money, but I found out there's no difference in what they did last year at Liberty High and at West High are doing everything the same. So my main concern, and the only reason I'm doing this, I had a couple people I emailed and let them know I wouldn't be there, just to let them know I wouldn't be doing my services that I've usually done since 1997. And I had a couple of people email me back, and I just told them it was per Chase that I wouldn't be there. And a couple of them told me, well, you should go to the school board meeting, find out. If they don't get an answer, find out why. Unless it's a personnel issue, obviously you can't, but even that, I personally get to know. And that's basically the only reason I was here, trying to find out. Get an answer somewhere along the way.
Thank you. I think maybe Chase following up with Mr. Volk would be a really important next step.
Yes, and George, I want to thank you for all the years of service at City High, and I appreciate and having done things with the band and everything after football games. I know that you put a lot of time into that, and it's greatly appreciated by the community.
Oh, and the last thing, see if I can even, volunteer, at least for the first day of school. They have their big fall sports thing, which they have football. Everything has to be ready at 4 o'clock. They have junior high football, varsity football. We're going to scrimmage Grinnell this year. Volleyball up in the gym, cross country. And the first day of school is a disaster for the head custodian. And they expect him now, is told, to set all this up, which is about a 6-hour thing for one person to set all that up. And also deal with the lockers and all the other problems you have at school. And there's no way he can do that.
That's right.
He'd have to come in like at midnight and work till midnight through to
Lockers on the first day are a never-ending call, I'm sure.
Exactly. But yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you so
George.
much. Leslie Carpenter, followed by Marion Coleman.
Good evening. My name's Leslie Carpenter, and I'm the president of NAMI Johnson County. I teach NAMI Family and NAMI provider training as well. And I have a 28-year-old son with a schizoaffective disorder, which is a very difficult to treat combination of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. He first became sick as a teenager while in high school. He's been hospitalized 20 times, in rehab 5 times, in residential care facilities, in group homes, and yes, even at the MHI in Independence. I share this information not for sympathy, but to let you know my experience in mental health care is extensive, both with firsthand knowledge and researched. I've become an advocate as there is much wrong with the broken system of care, and I am determined to do all that I can to improve it and to help prevent this for future children and people from suffering. I do not speak for NAMI, but I am informed all that I have learned there and elsewhere. So why am I here? I'm here tonight to advise you that there is no need for SROs in schools. We teach families and providers that people with brain disorders do not learn via discipline, but rather through love and support. We do need to set limits and create an environment with structure and expectations. This is what we've been doing in schools and families for years. Punishment just doesn't work for people with illnesses. Imagine punishing a child for having a seizure. Having officers in schools promotes a school-to-prison pipeline, and this adversely affects children with disabilities and minorities the most. And indeed, here in Iowa, we have one of the worst records in the whole country. Rather, we need to provide children with the mental health treatment that is needed, and this can and should begin at schools. And we need to recognize that children acting out most often have undiagnosed and diagnosed brain disorders. Most of the time, it is not just bad parenting or a lack of discipline. These children should be treated and supported and given the structure and the environment in which they can learn and grow up to be as healthy as possible. Now, I know that not all children that act out have mental illnesses, but I also know this: all children do better with supportive environments in which they can feel comfortable, cared about, have structure, and are given an opportunity to do better. Approaching things from this point of view helps immensely. As I have read the stories published recently since the Parkland tragedy, I've been saddened to read of the young man's history and how many missed opportunities there were for both adults at the schools and in the medical profession to step up, step in, and get this young man into treatment, and to give him the support to be healthier. Doing that could have increased the likelihood that those shootings could have been prevented. While hindsight's always better, I believe that we can all learn from this and work to do better in our local community. As a school board full of people dedicated to the education of children, I know that you want to make sound decisions. I know that there have been some rather famous people here in our community asking for SROs based on fear of what might happen. I get that, trust me, I understand the environment of fear, but we shouldn't let that drive our decisions. We've seen enough of that in our country. This brain picture that I handed you illustrates something ever so basic. A child, a person with structural changes in their brain, cannot be helped by an SRO, but that person or child could be helped by medication, treatment, and mental health professionals. Providing more mental health professionals is a responsible and caring choice, as well as not putting SROs into the schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Marion, followed by Charlie Eastham.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Marion Coleman, and I am a retiree from the Iowa City Community School District. I spent 40 years here as the Federal Compliance Officer and the Equity Director. My concern tonight to share with you is the risk assessment team. And my concern is how that team is formulated, how it's developed, who's on it, and who has access to FERPA information, and there's an addendum to FERPA, PPRA, and it's a new law. It's not new, but it is one that is attached to FERPA that provides parents and folks in schools information about how to protect student information. And as I read the information regarding how this team would be formulated, I had a few concerns about notifying the team when a student had a difficulty. Now, if that team has a need to know and is a part of the school district, that would not be a violation of FERPA. But if you have a team that's made up of people who are not a part of the school district, who do not have the right to see those, and as you know, special education students' materials in the schools are in a certain place. You have to sign in to get them. You have to say why you need them, and it's very well protected. But FERPA and PPRA protect all of the students, not just special ed students. So my request tonight would be that you take a good hard look at how you formulate that team, because I agree that you do need a way to determine what's a risk in the school district and what's not. So if you would kindly have someone take a look at what the law requires of people who review materials that belong in a student's file. And another piece of that is parents have to be a part of that team. So if you were to have a team with the teachers who work with that student, that would be fine. But if you have a student after student after student, that means that team would change and change and change to make sure you have people with accurate information regarding that student. So please take a look at that as you look at assembling that risk team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Charlie, followed by Jane Stewart.
Hi, my name is Charlie Eastham. I just want to follow up on Marion's comments. I was at a meeting last night with the Black Voices Project, which the threat assessment teams and SROs were talked about extensively. It's no surprise to you, I'm sure, to know that those steps on the part of the district are of great concern to black leaders and people of color in the community. I think and I know you're not intending to go ahead with an SRO type program in the district, but I think the threat assessment team decision to go ahead with a grant application needs to be reconsidered. In my view, the district would be much better off if there is a clear process the board can undertake to evaluate what people in the community, especially people of color in the community, are looking for in terms of evaluating individual threats that may come up from time to time. And that process, I think, could be done fairly readily, and I think might lead to a much different approach than the current concept of a threat assessment team. And I think if the board does that, they would really inform people of color in the community that the district does have their best interest at heart, or their interest at heart anyway, in making decisions about how to cope with current situations in the school. So I hope the board would take another look at your inclination to go ahead and pursue a threat assessment approach. Thanks.
Thanks, Charlie. Jane, followed by Melba.
Good evening. I'm Jane Stewart, just a member of the community. And I'm also here to speak about the threat assessment team grant proposal. The purpose of schools, as you well know, is to educate students and to help them thrive. And I believe, and I assume that you believe because you care enough to be on this unpaid school board, that you also have that goal in mind for our students. If we establish a threat assessment team, or threat assessment teams in our schools, I think we must do it with the intention of supporting students and staff in the district by addressing individuals in a holistic way that examines root causes of negative behavior and seeks creative, self-esteem enhancing solutions rather than punitive ones. I'm concerned that the Dewey-Cornell threat assessment model boils down to punishing the individual who is perceived as a threat to self or others, rather than helping them. As I understand it, a threat assessment team should only be looking for concerning changes in behavior that might indicate that the individual presents a risk of harm to self or others. It should not focus on chronic absenteeism, tardiness, students talking back to staff, or other minor infractions. The first point of contact from the threat assessment team should always be a social worker or a school counselor rather than law enforcement, who should only be brought in for serious perceived threats. What we need is a school to society pipeline rather than a school to prison pipeline. The School Violence Prevention Project grant stipulates that coordinators must be a civilian, non-sworn person. And I'm hoping that you as a board can confirm for me that this also means that any data collected will be school data that's protected by FERPA, rather than law enforcement data. I think it's important that for this concept to be workable and acceptable in our district.
Thank you, Jane. Melva, followed by Billy Townsend.
Hello, I'm Melba. I was an Iowa grown person. I moved here to the state of Iowa in 1967. 9 out of 11 of us went through the school system. My children went through the Iowa City school system. My granddaughter is now in the Iowa City school system. I have family that has graduated from the university, my son being the one that graduated this May. Thank God he's got a job too. But what I want to say to you, I am an executive member to the Black Voices Project, and I am also an executive member to Iowa Democratic Black Caucus, and I'm also an executive board member with Johnson County Early Childhood Empowerment. I'll stop with that. I won't go into all the other ones that I am on the executive board with. But what I would like to know, well, let me tell you this. When I came to the state of Iowa, I went through the Muscatine school system, and there was this man that was called a truant officer. In Oklahoma, we didn't have that problem. And I guess because 6 black kids in Muscatine wasn't a threat, so they let him go. I don't know how long he had been there before my family came to this safe and healthy and whatever else you say about the state of Iowa. So they let him go. My thing I'd like to find out is, have you did any research to other large populations of minorities in the state of Iowa? Davenport and Des Moines are the only ones that aren't. Maybe Waterloo, Cedar Rapids would have a large population of people of color. Have you did any research with them to see if they offer this same, or they forcing this same service into the school system to compare the benefits and the pros and cons for enacting such a blatant service? $250,000, I see that as a way of not being spent properly. Of course, I don't have any control over how you spend it, but I think it would be more beneficial to the school if you would open up trade schools, classes to your so-called problem children. Give them something that they can look forward to, something that they can feel proud to achieve, and say, well, I won't say that, but just have Like at the football teams, yeah, we did it. You know, punishment it doesn't do anything except for make a person cold-hearted and resentful. Stop breeding people like that. We've seen enough of this mass shooting going on that somebody's got to say, hey, it's a lunatic running loose somewhere, and maybe had he had better schooling, maybe they would have seen a little more compassion to other people and not determined that this should be their death angel, than to say that they had mental problems. What schools were they in? Maybe they should have had a little bit of help themselves. You've got to look at the fact that forcing people into something like everybody's a risk. Us being here is a risk. We could have got hit on the interstate coming here. A risk to people are different things. And, you know, look at the teachers themselves. How much of a risk is the teacher actually to the student versus the student to the teacher? Take a look at both sides. Who's pushing this? Where is the need for it? I'd like to see statistics to say, yes, here it is in black and white, pink and purple. This happened repeatedly. Is it the same person perpetrating these terror acts that this body decided, oh, we need to bring in a special force? That's SWAT. My time is up. Please consider what I just shared with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melba. Billy Townsend, followed by Abraham Ane.
Hi, I'm Billy Townsend, and a threat assessment team is what's on my mind also. I have grandchildren in the district, just as many of you may have children and grandchildren, and you wonder how safe are they, and I guess it's a concern of all of us, especially in this day and age. Why are you looking?
No, I'm just, excuse me, I saw Orville coming in.
I thought I had done something wrong already.
No, you hadn't, no.
My concern is the threat assessment team and how it's going to affect my kids, not only my kids, but your kids. It's not about black kids or brown kids, it's about all the children in the district. And we just want them to be safe. But my concern is having an officer in the school is not going to make my kid any safer. I think we have to, as parents and grandparents, take the responsibility of all these children, that when they leave home, what do they have with them? What's their concerns? Are we talking to our kids? Are we getting them off the phones? Are we getting them off these laptops? Are we getting them off the games? Do we know what our kids are really thinking about when they leave us in the morning to go to school? All of our grandkids, we've got four and three in town, and one just graduated, 2 are in City High. They've all started out from our house when they went to school, when they went to Shimmick. And we always felt that they were safe in school. And my concern now that they're almost grown-ups, that they continue to be safe in our schools, but not at the hand of a police officer or a truant officer telling them how horrible they are. But if they have a problem, I'd like to know it. And I'd like to know what the problem is and what we're doing to address it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Billy? Ibrahim, followed by Pauline Taylor.
First of all, I would like to say thank you to have these chances, and I want to say I'm really new and for the meeting of the boards, and this is my first time, and I've been here because of the concern I do have, and I would like to say I'm really happy to live in Iowa City and having my kid to Iowa City school districts, but I just have one issue that is my concern, why I've been here, and I would like to say how could we be reach of the school board member while just we do have their email and we write email and we're not gonna get any responses. And we call and leave the message and we're not gonna get any responses. So that's why today I asked some of the friends when the school board meeting is, and I attend here. So the board of the school district is ask me. I don't know that much, but the way I try to reach them is very difficult to me, and it could be difficult to some other communities who is moved to Iowa City, who is leaving, and better to be quiet, they don't make any changes. So sometimes that's why, that is my concern. How could we reach out there to communicate with board of the school districts if we have any issues? And I ask a couple of times question. I don't know if it is like that. A couple of times, and just we're not gonna reach the board member or any concerned body who responded to us, and you are already denied, and they just go home. We're not gonna make any change. So I feel, we need to have like those peoples who are from, we have a community in here, and I feel like we need to have like somebody's who reach out those communities, like as English is my second language, we need to have somebody who can help us and tell us the right thing. Even if we don't understand what is said, just we need to know, and we have to give us clear or clarification for our question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you. Pauline, followed by Peter Adams.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Pauline Taylor. I've lived in the Iowa City area for almost 50 years now, so I've had a daughter that attended the Iowa City school system, and now have grandchildren attending Iowa City schools. So I'm very proud of the schools. They've done a great job. They certainly did wonders for my daughter, who's now got her master's degree, so it was a good starting point for her. But I would like to speak, as others have tonight, on the topic of officers in the school and the threat assessment team. You did make, it is the right decision to keep the SRIs out of the schools. Our Iowa City Police Chief has worked very hard to create an environment of trust in the community of police officers and not fear. And my thinking is that having officers in the school would create more and instill fear, because the children would wonder, why do we have to have the police in the schools? And then that would defeat that whole purpose of them having a trust in the officers. As far as the threat assessment teams, I believe that it's more like fueling the fire rather than putting the fire out or even taking actions to prevent the fire in the first place. Funds would, I think, be better spent on adding social workers or and counselors in the schools. I know you have counselors now, but it's my understanding that they're pretty well overworked now. They serve more as guidance counselors to these students, and sometimes upwards to 300, 400 students that they're responsible for, and it's more in assisting them in their academic concerns. And what I think we need are folks in the schools, particularly at the high school level, to help students with any personal needs that they might have if they're going through some concerns that would cause any sort of disruption in their school. So I think that would be important, and I think funds would be better spent on something like that. We also do need to assure that all of the teachers follow through with the implicit bias training. I've heard that you've been following through on that, but I think it's important that they do go, they attend, and they're held to attending all of the trainings, as well as some de-escalation training. The police officers in the area have taken these trainings and have reported great success in dealing with difficult situations. So especially the de-escalation training, I think, would be especially helpful for teachers and any other sort of school personnel to know how to go into any situation and help calm that person down. I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline. Peter Adams, followed by Kelsey Furry.
Hello, my name is Peter Adams, and I am entering 10th grade at West High School. I'd like to comment on the topic of school resource officers, because I feel too often decisions are made by, it's good to have the opinions of grandparents, of teachers, but You need the opinions of students. Amen. But to the students, think about this. I mean, looking around this room, I can pretty easily see that I'm the youngest person here, but I'm the one who's going to be most impacted from this. The students really matter about this, and so what do the students say? The answer is no, we don't need them. As soon as you put a resource officer in the school, you are telling the students, we don't trust you. We are assuming that you are up to bad behavior, and so this is what we're doing to stop it. And it doesn't stop bad behavior. You can get around a school resource officer many ways, and you're just wasting money at that point. All it does is provide what is called security theater, the idea of security. It's being presented as something that is helpful, when really all it is it being harmful to students like minorities or students with mental illness, and spending extra money on things that could be better spent, like the fourth grade orchestra program that got cut, or sports teams could always use more money. Why are we devoting our resources to something that over and over again has been proven to not work? School resource officers may increase the arrest rate of students in school. You might say, yes, the school is becoming safer. But if you look at it, increasing the arrest rate doesn't necessarily mean the school is becoming safer. It just means that more students are getting arrested, taken to court, and having things put on their record. I think it's really unfair because I'm someone who will, as I am not a minority, I will not be as severely affected by this. And when I look around, I have some really good friends who, I don't want this for them. I don't want us to spend our money on something that is harmful to students, is a nuisance to teachers, and frankly makes me feel more unsafe than if we had already had, than if we had just had no officer at all. Think about it. In terms of school shootings, we have already gotten so much more security. Both students and teachers are now more aware of this and are more likely to report behavior of early warning signs of school shootings. We have secure buildings now that you have to buzz into, which granted can be a bit of an annoyance, but it's definitely worth it for the increased security. And sorry. We also have new legislation that's coming out to hopefully prevent people who are high risk for this from acquiring firearms that could, take lives away from students. And on that note, it's also worth saying that you can expect incidents if you put resource officers in schools. No matter what, they're people. People make mistakes. And I come from Northwest Junior High, who has had lots of fights, pretty much, on a weekly basis. If the resource officer was called to intervene in a fight, and a student got hurt or seriously injured, that might have been avoided if we had let the fight handle itself out. I really don't think that these officers are going to do much than provide us with the feeling that we are doing something when really all we're doing is causing more harm. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Kelsey, followed by Orville Townsend.
Hello, my name is Kelsey Furry. I'm a parent in the district. I have children in elementary school and one who's going into middle school. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for serving on the school board, because the reason that I'm here is to talk about the SROs. I know that you have already made the decision not to put SROs in the schools, but you've been getting some pushback on that. And I just want to say I think you made the right decision. When I was coming here tonight, I explained to my son, who's going into middle school, why I was coming. And he also expressed concerns. He was concerned that having police in the schools would just be a distraction in the learning environment. So I wanted to share that with you. So that is my whole reason for being here, is to thank you for making the right decision before and ask you to stick by it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. Orville Townsend.
Good evening. I'm Orville Townsend, and I just have a few points I'd like to share with you. First of all, what's being done to address mental health for those students that need it? The second point is, what type of community input did you solicit before coming to this conclusion? And third, what funding have you applied for to support this problem? And personally, I feel when we start talking about funding, if we use it for number one in terms of actually trying to address mental illness with training or whatever, is needed, then that would be appropriate. Also, it's like you need to look at what communities are being affected by this. I mean, we've got children that make mistakes that end up on the police rolls, and this works against them. Do we really want to bring officers into the school? I mean, it's sort of like saying we can't handle the situation. It's like you're saying it's for protection. The school is for education. When we start bringing weapons into the school, then, hey, what message are you sending? If the kids see an officer walking down the hall with a weapon, what's to make he or she feel that, they can't put one in their backpack also? I guess what I'm saying is guns the solution to the problem? Is it going to solve the problem, or is it going to escalate the problem? Do we need it, or are we overreacting? But I personally feel that before we do that, we need to make sure that we exercise every possibility we can. Look at funding. Funding is tight. I know that. But is this an area that's important enough that we can take a look at shifting more funding to it? I have confidence in our teachers to be able to, with the training, to spot a situation. I think also it's no way that we're going to win this battle alone. We've got to find a way to involve parents and the community. I think that's probably the best resource we're going to get. So maybe it would be advantageous to look for funding to put programs together to expand. We need to expand our thinking. We can't do this alone. So I'm hoping that we'll come up with some program where we are going to involve parents. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you all for coming to community comment
Yeah,
tonight.
Jen, just before you close out community comment, because people might leave after this, if you are interested in our work session tonight, we will be covering mental health services that we provide in this district, so that might be a good conversation to stick around for.
Thank you. Great. I appreciate that, Paul. Thank you all again. We'll move to the ICEA update, and we've got Brady Shutt here.
Hi, good evening. I'm Brady Shutt, the president of the Iowa City Education Association, President Godwin, Vice President Russler, Directors, Superintendent Murley. We had the distinct pleasure, we're back. We had the distinct pleasure of welcoming the new to the district teachers this morning. I think there were maybe 67 or 68 teachers, and we moved to a different format this year. Instead of doing 2 full days, we all came together and moved to 4 half-day model. And not only did we sort of change that model, but I think we changed a lot of what we tried to do, especially on our first day. So I just want to give a big shout out to Chase and to Matt and Amy and the directors. I know they've been really central with getting this going this morning, and to Steve as well. He was there this morning. Was inspirational. It was engaging. It made you feel amazing about being a teacher in the Iowa City schools. It was centered on what we all do, which is come to school every day to make a difference in the lives of kids. So it was fantastic. And I always like having barometers for my sentiments. So we had some regional people from the East Central Uniserve unit who were with us. And at one point, I went back to them and they sort of said, oh my gosh, like this doesn't happen anywhere. We get, sometimes our associations get shut out of the room. Literally, you're in a hallway. And, we're getting shout outs, we're collaborating, we're facilitating together, and it's all focused on the amazing work that we all do being in the public schools. One of them said, Superintendent Murley is here the whole morning. Do they know that he's the superintendent and he's engaged in this work? How amazing is that? So thank you to everyone for that this morning. It was fantastic. I think, Janet, you'll be there tomorrow morning, so it'll be great. I can't go without mentioning that, the work that Dwayne and his team do all summer long is phenomenal. And this summer has been particularly crazy. The spreadsheet, I've seen the spreadsheet. Probably you've all seen the spreadsheet. Phenomenal work, and they are hard at it. And we just, the teachers so appreciate, what they're doing. They're working day and night. And I always say, it's gonna look great, and we're gonna make it messy. But I think that's the way it works. And then also Adam Kurth and his team, because boy, you put these schools together, and they are high tech, and they are teacher and kid friendly and centered. So I know Adam and his team are, working around the clock, and we will definitely break your stuff, Adam. So just fantastic. It was a really great day. Just wanted you to have that update. It's nice to be back. Thank you.
Hey,
Thanks,
Brady,
Brady.
before you leave, I just wanted to personally welcome back the teachers for the start of the school year. I know that there's some excitement, some stressful teachers out there, but I welcome them back, and I'm really looking forward to this year. So thanks for everything you guys have done in the summer to prepare for that.
Thank you. I'll pass that along. Thanks.
Yep, thanks, Brady. Okay, we'll move into the agenda approval. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Kim, we're ready to vote.
Agenda.
This is the agenda.
Online voting is open. Not getting yours, Phil.
Yes.
Thank you. All votes have been cast and motion carries with all directors voting in favor.
Thank you. The consent agenda, Phil, and I think Ruthina reviewed bills this period.
Yeah. And Paul had some questions too that were very good. Yeah, this period we had $8.9 million worth of expenditures, 1.8 in general fund, and 4.1 in 31 fund. Still kind of getting used to the new format and everything in there.
Phil,
and
put your mic down.
Oh, excuse me.
Thank you.
Yeah, still getting used to the new format with bills and everything, and I think that it might be helpful to have either a work session or some type of a board or a finance committee. And I know Craig Hansel always said that we should have quarterly finance committee meetings just to kind of bring up concerns and go over things, especially before the annual audit, and have a discussion like that. But I think it'd be helpful for everybody to have a better grip on how this new format is, because we've had the other one for so long, and this one is definitely a little bit getting used to, and just so everybody's fully aware and can explain it not only to themselves but to the community as well. And I don't know if Ruthina has anything else she wants to comment on.
No, I said my question. It was regarding the storage that we were paying for, and I just wanted clarification on why it was needed, since we were purchasing the new building, and they answered some of my concerns that was there.
Great, thank you. I think it's a great suggestion too, Phil, in terms of getting the review of the new bill format, just so that we're all familiar. Maybe we can talk about it in agenda setting when that's a good time to do that. Anything else on bills? Otherwise, are there items from consent agenda to pull?
I'd like to pull number 16, appendix 9.
And I'd like to pull 14.
Okay, is there a motion to approve consent agenda minus items 14 and 16?
I move that we approve consent agenda minus item 14 and 16.
Second.
Kim, ready to vote?
Online voting is open. Been cast and the motion carries with directors Rotland, Ressler, Godwin, Clausen, Malone, and Eastham voting yea, and Director Hemingway voting nay.
Thank you. Item 14, Phil.
Yeah, 14 is a vehicle purchase for craft training. I know we've gotten some vehicles from Gov Deals from the University of Iowa and things like that in the past. I'm just concerned at a time when we are stretched with our resources, that we're spending $84,000 for a new van. And, I don't know if Deary Brothers in town was contacted to bid, Dwayne, and it looks like you're nodding, it looks like they did. Did they just decline to bid?
That's correct. They were asked, they declined, and this is for 2 vehicles, not 1.
No, I understand.
Okay.
No, I understand it's a new vehicle. What I'm saying is I know we have purchased some used vehicles.
Right.
And considering our situation with things, I know $84,000 would go a lot toward career and tech programming, and it's Pebble money. It can be spent on a lot of things besides new trucks or vans, and that's why I wanted to pull it and bring it to the attention of the board. And I think that, we have to really seriously look at, we spent a lot with modernizing the fleet. I know we're adding facilities and schools, and things of that nature, but it's a lot of money for some shiny new paint.
I might add that there was a correction on here. Stivers Ford was actually low, but they withdrew their bid. That's why they weren't mentioned as the low successful bidder. In case you're wondering, there's actually a lower bid on there. And we have purchased vehicles on GovNet deals, but it was a used boom truck for electrical work. I don't think that we've ever purchased any vans or utility vehicles, because we need them with low miles or no miles, because we'll put a lot on them.
Any other comments or questions on item 14? Is there a motion?
I move that we approve item 14.
Second.
I'm ready to vote.
Online voting is open. All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with Directors Rutland, Ressler, Godwin, Clausen, Malone, and Eastham voting yea, and Director Hemingway voting nay.
Thank you. Next up, we've got item 16, and I think we've got some presentations. Dwayne?
Thank you. We have 7 projects remaining in the facility master plan. You're going to see 2 of them tonight. They're both kind of exciting. I think the committees and the architects have worked hard. The first one we're going to look at is Shimmick, and we'll let the architect come up. We'll get that started. When he's done, we'll let Chris Pasarek is here, the school principal. He can make some comments. I'll fill you in on the budget, and we'll have a little Q&A. And we'll keep her moving as good as we can here. Here, can you get that minimized? Thank you. We'll get yours up here, Dave. Okay.
Thank you, Dwayne. This is Dave Harrison with Design Lines. I'm probably familiar with him. He did Corville Central, he did Lincoln Elementary, and now they're on the Shimmick project. I missed it. Oh, Southeast also. And we're not going to talk about Southeast. It's kind of a mess today.
Yeah, Sarah hasn't been there for an hour or 2. Yeah, I'm Dave Harrison, Madam Chairman, members of the board. Very pleased to be here again to present another project for you. This project was very challenging from a lot of different standpoints. The geometry of this building is very interesting with the hexagonal floor plan and a lot of the things that probably seemed to be a good idea at the time that turned out maybe not so to be so good. The budget was very tight. Some tough decisions needed to be made, and the committee that we had working on this from the school articulated their priorities very well and had a lot of great discussions, and I think made a lot of good decisions that really are able to make this project be right on line. And I have with me Sarah Houston, an architect and the project manager for this, and Kyle Sandage, an architect, and they're going to carry the weight here. Sarah.
Yes, hello. A little shorter than Dave. You can see here our first image is a rendering, and if you are familiar with Shimmick at all, and I'll show you a photo of what it looks like now, we are moving the front entrance because this is kind of naturally where it wants to go. When you first pull in, it's kind of, you see like the electrical transformer, that's what you pull in looking at. So We're going to move that, and we're going to make a new front entrance. Here's the existing floor plan here. The orange part was the original building, and then you can see the kind of the teal was an addition. Just to give you an idea. Here's the current, this is right over here in this corner is going to be the new entrance, and that's an electrical transformer, kind of a fence. Here's the current entrance into the building. It's kind of around to the side. And this is the gym box now where they have lunch as well. And here's the interior of that space. The goal of the project when we first received it was to provide a new gymnasium and to provide geothermal HVAC system and update lighting. We also did a comparison with the district's kind of template of what a school for this size, how its space needs matched with what was desired. And the highest priorities or greatest needs were in the gymnasium, the food service area, the administration, which kind of includes the health services, and then just general receiving and storage area. This is the site that Shimmick is on. It's a very large site, but a lot of kind of hills and valleys in there, but a lot of land. And you can see here's some of the circulation as we're moving the front entrance from over here to the other side of this existing kind of gym box. We will be taking a deeper look at where the bus drop-off pickup is, where parents are going to go, where students are, just to provide safe circulation routes so there's not a lot of crossing of parking lots.
So if I'm a board member, I'm saying, where are we moving that front door? So the answer is, it's not ADA accessible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Currently, the only ADA accessible is like around the sidewalk around the back. And so this will make it ADA accessible. It will also make it more prominent, this is the front entrance, this is where I go. So this is our base project. You can see that the orange areas are spaces that are renovated, and then the teal would be a new addition. You will notice that this box here is the existing gym, and we are making a new gym, but it's not a whole lot larger. And that was due to, as we got into the process, it was determined by the committee that having a safe, secure entrance was a higher priority than having a full-size gym at this point in time. Currently, the administration area is in the center of the building, so you walk in and then you have to trust that the person is going to go to the office. All the other schools that have been updated move to a secure, you enter the vestibule, you are guided through the office. It's a very safe, secure entrance into the building. And so that was deemed a higher priority by the design committee. And so in this way, we are keeping kind of the gym lunchroom the same size. We're not losing anything, but that's why the new gym is not a full-size gym. But you will notice we have an alternate as well to do some modification, because currently the only way to get to some of these classrooms is to walk through another classroom. Again, one of those weird space things that maybe was a good idea when it was built, but maybe not.
Wasn't a good idea then.
Maybe not.
Bad idea in the 70s, and it still sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So we have an alternate to fix that as well. And then we also have future plans for phase 2 that would complete the gym box, as well as provide a separate cafeteria with some more bathroom space, and again, part of a phase 2 project. Because like Dave said, the budget is tight. So here's kind of just enlarged what we're getting. Our gym box, kitchen, storage, office, updated admin. There is a dedicated, we're taking part of that existing gym area and making it an art room. Currently, they're using one of the standard classrooms as an art space, so this would be kind of a dedicated art space with a kiln room and, an updated art room there. And then some additional bathrooms in the center, because currently there's a set of bathrooms over here, and then there's a couple very dated ones up in the corners. So again, centralizing some of the bathrooms, adding more fixtures.
I hate to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But tell them how we're going to move, how that gym box is built and how we're going to move that wall later.
Yes, just like with this, currently we're building half the gym, so we'll just continue to expand it out. Just move that wall, and we'll just continue that. This will be a hardened space, like they've been doing it at a lot of the other schools, so a place to go during storms as well, so more security as far as the weather and the elements go. But this is our base project right now to remain within budget. And then just a couple more renderings, a new gym box uses a lunchroom, and kind of our questions, comments, and then Kyle has
let's go to that first.
Okay.
So, Kyle, once you get that started, maybe while you're getting that ready, Chris, you want to come make some comments about the process? You can get that set up.
First of all, I just want to thank the board, and I thank the greater community for this opportunity. I think we're coming up on 2 years now when we had the vote to approve the bond to get these projects finished. So thank you to the greater community.
Keep talking.
I thought you wanted to dance.
No,
Okay.
I'm trying to be the IT guy.
All right. So just a thank you to everyone on behalf of the Shimmick community and myself. We really appreciate this. As you heard from Sarah, the scope of the project was a little bit beyond what our budget can afford at this time. So we talked a lot about some give and take and what we thought priorities would be. It's nice to have. I want to thank the committee, half of whom is here in the back tonight. A lot of discussion and a lot of change throughout this process, but in the end, again, we came down to we really wanted that safe and secure entrance to be the foremost part of this project. And I think, as you saw, we'll be hopefully changing that art room space. It's going to be moving over to the gymnasium, so no longer when I give tours of the building will I be able to say that we're probably the only building in the world with a carpet in our art room. But I think we'll take that trade. So thank you, and I'll turn things over to Kyle.
So we have here a walkthrough that we'll kind of go through, and Sarah will narrate as we go through.
Yeah, this is our new software, so you can kind of like a live action walk through the space with our 3D program here. So the new front entrance, some sort of canopy out front, again, just to direct you that this is the front entrance. It's ADA accessible, like we've already talked about. Getting into the building, and this vestibule where you have to go right into the administration area. New space here, principal, conference room, receptionist. The nurse's office is right off of this space here, back in there. And then on into the school. Most of it's kind of out and in this front quadrant, so we'll just stay up there. But over into our new gym. So just a gym area there. And then, I don't know if you want to get to the corridors. The new corridor that we're using as an alternate, currently a lot of the locker space or the cubby space is in the classrooms, which again eats up classroom space and wall space. And so by doing the alternate of pulling some corridors out so you can not only get to your classroom without going through another classroom, but all the lockers then become in that corridor. So it's less disruptive, it's less kind of stuff in the classrooms. And so the teachers, they may lose a little square footage, but they're gaining a whole wall. So better for teaching space.
How many of the building will have natural ambient light? Because one thing going down the corridor was very apparent is there's no windows.
Yep. Yeah, the rooms on the exterior have kind of a direct exit door with a side light currently now, but there are rooms on the interior, you're right, that don't have any windows. What we have done in the past on some of these projects is if there's a roof project, we've kind of added I don't know if you've seen the solar-tube where it brings natural light in, but it's not a window, obviously, because you're in the center of the building. That's something that we will certainly look into. Right now, because this was listed as an alternate, we hadn't explored as much in depth as the new gym box itself. But we all know that natural light is good. Another one of those things that we've learned over the years is better for education, more natural light. But you can see all the lockers here, kind of a central corridor. That's what we have for you.
So we'll get that, see if we can get it shut off or we turned on here. The budget itself, let's talk a little bit about that, and then we can answer any questions. This might help you. The overall budget at Shimmick is $4.9 million. Okay, we set aside $4 million and maybe a little change after that. Right now, the estimates for the project are at 3.4.
So we're feeling pretty good about those alternates. I really do think they'll be able to do the corridors. We can look at solar tubes. Those are the same thing we talked about using at Northwest because they have interior classrooms too. But the roof at Northwest is solid concrete, and the roof at Shimmick is challenging to say the best. It's a bunch of little pyramid roofs.
if you ever really stop to look at it, it's a very complicated roof. But we'll look at that, and so right now I feel pretty good about it. I think we can do everything. It was a long, hard discussion at the committee level about do we just do the full gym and not the secure entrance, and they really focused on the secure entrance, and it's hard not to do that in days like today. And it is, when we're done, if we don't do this, it may be one of the very few, if not the only one in the school, in the district, without it. So it's a good thing to do. So with that, we'd answer any questions you might have, and I'll try and figure this out.
What's the phase 2 to expand the gym? What type of dollars are you talking about there? I mean, I guess my biggest holdup is that you still have about the same size gym that's doubling as a lunchroom. That's what we're trying to get away from with all the
We're
schools.
trying to get, exactly. And Chris, you want to talk about that, the discussion we had with that, or you want me to answer that? Okay.
So we did have a long discussion about that. We decided in the end, I think we're about just a little bit north of $2 million short to be able to complete that whole project in one phase, if that makes sense. And so we did have a long discussion about it. We talked about how it's pretty much the same size or a little bit larger than the space that we currently have. We figured if we could continue to do business as normal, if you will, for the next few years, knowing that might be out there, or that will be out there in the future. We think that we can live with that, and the trade-off again is that safety piece. That's kind of what it came down to for the committee.
So they're pinning some of their hopes on phase 2, which would be the future save dollars. Facility master plan 2.0.
We're pinning our hopes.
That's what we're doing, because you haven't approved anything.
On that. What was the original bond budget for Shimmick?
Original when, 2013 or 2015?
Well, that's right.
I can tell you.
Depends on what we're talking original. What's original?
4.939. When we did the bond, it was 4.939 was what was proposed.
It was higher. It's been adjusted over the years. It's been lowered, and then it's been raised back up to account for inflation. So it was 2013, modified in 15, modified in 17. It's been modified twice. And what happened with the modification is the projection for the enrollment at Shimmick was low, so we took the classrooms out, but we left the gym in, is what happened.
I think too, a lot of this project, a lot of what is a part of that cost would be the upgrade in the heat in the HVAC system and all the electrical and the lighting throughout the building. So that's it takes a pretty big chunk away from those other pieces that we were hoping to do in one single phase.
When you don't have windows, you have to rely a lot on lighting.
Well, you've probably heard me say this before. Shimmick's a really, unique's a good word, but even the mechanical layout, in order to stimulate the air conditioning in that building, we have to turn the boiler on because it was oversized when it was built. And so it takes a lot of energy to turn the air conditioning on. So in reality, the boiler comes on, throws a little heat at the air conditioner and stimulates it to start air conditioning the building. That's how antique that system and how bad it is. It needs to go. And that's a big cost of this.
Well, Chris, you were involved with Lincoln, and you got pulled into this one too.
It's getting fun.
I know. Yeah, you have the shoulders broad enough to handle the challenges and that. So we appreciate that. Your assessment. I mean, Lincoln turned out very well, and that.
Excellent.
How do you feel with this? And I mean, this isn't one go. This is phase 1, phase 2. Is there a phase 3? Is 2 going to get it? Are we going to be true to what we told the public with the bond? What they were going to get? Even though they're at the end of the list, and a lot of people were saying, well, you got to worry about those last projects because you're going to come up short, and kind of looks like we are. Can you speak to those questions?
I think we're going to be able to fulfill our promises in regard to the bond. I'm pretty optimistic, I guess, in general, but I think I'm optimistic that we could get it done in 2 phases. I know that they're already things in the works. Plans are being made, things are being considered as far as a second facilities master plan. My goal would be to work with folks to hopefully be on the front end of that, so that it'd be a short turnaround time, and in the not too distant future, we'd be able to expand that gym, add on that cafeteria space, and be pretty comparable to the rest of the buildings in the district.
You referred to the committee members that were here tonight. Can you do a quick introduction? I just want to know what percentage parents, teachers, staff, who was on that committee?
So Jenny Medemeyer is one of our parent representatives. Amy Brandt is our school secretary. We've got Megan Chapman is one of our third grade teachers, fourth grade teachers this year. Depends on the season. Kayla Cordova going to be teaching sixth grade for us. And Jenny Mitchell, another parent representative. We've got Adam Sutherland couldn't join us tonight as another parent representative. Our instructional coach and our custodian were part of the team. And then our before and after school director sat in with us as well. So we tried to get a decent cross-section of our community represented, and we did that.
Thank you.
So just a follow-up comment, the dollars that were promised in the bond are still there, are still awarded. Those are numbers that were based on a 2017 reevaluation of the facility master plan. They have not changed. What may change over time is scope, but that's one of the reasons we accelerated the project 3 years, was to take advantage of reduced inflation and reduced interest costs. And that's proceeding. I just think in this particular case, it was a matter of priorities at the school, and safety was a bigger concern to the school than that oversized gym. So that's really what it comes down to. The money is still there. All 7 of the last projects are not going to be shortchanged. It's still there.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I wasn't necessarily asking more about the oversized gym as opposed to the 2 separate spaces for the cafeteria and the gym.
Yep. And we talked through it, and with future saved dollars now approved, but it's going to take a few years to get that program started. Certainly, the things that they chose to leave off can be done in short order. I'm confident that the board will pull it off, that we have the money, it's there, we'll do it, we'll get the facility master plan going, and they'll get what they need. Okay, any other questions? We'll start with Wickham. No? Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You want to grab your computer? Thanks, Kyle. We're off without a hitch, even though the IT guy was new. Which one do you want, Wolf? Oh. We'll get it. Hey. Got it. Sure. It's on the Hilton's. All right. This is Will Downing. Will worked on the Longfellow project with Chris. He worked on the Man project. Both of those have been really successful and nice projects. He currently is working on Tate, and now he's got this Wickham one. And Amber Dobb is here, the principal of the school, and so I'll turn it over to those two, and then I'll come back to the budget.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to work with the school district again on another project. This is a fairly straightforward project, I think, in updates at Wickham Elementary, which is one of the more modern buildings in the district, and I think has been serving the students well. I think the physical plant that Amber deals with is in pretty good shape. The classrooms are adequately sized. Everyone has a window. So a couple of things need to be addressed, and you can see at the top of the page, roughly half of the budget of the project is taken up by updates in the infrastructure, just keeping up to date with maintenance. So we met with Amber, members of her staff, and also members of Dwayne's physical plant staff to talk about what this roughly 20-year-old building needs. So new LED lighting throughout the building, including emergency lighting. Adding fire suppression system. Currently the building does not have a fire sprinkler system at all. Updating the mechanical controls, the Control systems are essentially out of date. This will put it on your building automation system, which is district-wide, so people can track what's going on. And then replacing some pumps that run boilers. The existing boilers themselves are adequately sized and have some additional capacity, but the pumps are the biggest moving part that's going to wear out, and it's probably time. And then going with the lighting and fire suppression, we'll be doing ceilings throughout the building as we go through the phasing. But then looking at what's affecting the educational environment, the art and music classrooms were brought up as a need here. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Oh, no. Well, I think you're okay right there. Their location in the building was well planned. They're not integrated. They're not reusing other classrooms. They're a little bit away from the regular classroom wings. So as I said, location's great, but maybe the sizes needed to be addressed somewhat. So we're looking at a small addition to the north that will expand the art and music and give more windows to the art room and a little bit and more instrument storage for music. Then another significant item to address is secure entrance. I'm going to try and see what I can do for zooming in. There we go. The existing office is a little bit inboard of the main entrance, so people would come in the front door, and then the office was there, but it wasn't, didn't have to pass through it. So what we're looking at doing is bringing a new office, vestibule, reception area to the outer edge of the building, taking some existing resource classroom space into a new nurse's office and new principal's office. Gives us the opportunity to repurpose the former office area into a collaborative classroom for students, so group learning, and then the principal's office into a conference room. So that's the gist of the project. And we're also resurfacing the gymnasium floor. So again, another infrastructure thing.
So you gotta get the other ones. You ready?
Yep. So the bottom files. So again, some schematic views. The existing main entrance is really just this open pyramid skylight, and then having a new main entrance that projects to the parking lot and provides a new front door presence, but really in the same location, just reorientation. And then you can see, what are the two smaller windows for art and music, getting a broader north-facing window for art room and music, and just a rather small addition for expand those classroom setting. That's it.
Good evening. Thank you very much, board and everybody who's involved in this project. It's pretty exciting to think about the changes that could occur at Wickham. I realize that many of them will be unseen because there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be taken care of. But when I think about the expansion of the art and music area and the main entrance being a secure place for everyone, that is very exciting to me in my first renovation project. So I don't know what I would add, but thank you for your consideration.
A couple of comments. As you may have noticed that we expanded the art and music. In the original plan, it was new art and music. But the teachers loved their rooms. They just needed more storage. And so it became a cost-effective option to consider just expanding those two rooms and creating a new collaborative room or a new classroom or plus one in the interior part of the building. But it also has windows that open up into a nice area there by the cafeteria. If you've been there before, it's well lit. But again, it was the secure entrance. And this secure entrance, I won't take you back to it to you, but first thing I thought was Weber is a sister school to Wickham, and Weber needs exactly what was designed for Wickham. So I've already put that on Facility Master Plan 2.0 recommendations for you, and we'll go back and pick up Weber just the exact same way. This is a really good solution. for this school. I was really pleased when I saw it, and the teachers are really pleased with the art and music room bump outs, and actually, you may not have caught it, but we're actually flipping the rooms so that the music room has the advantage of north sunlight, and it's a really good solution that Will's come up with, so I'm pleased to have him present it. And the budget for this project was $2.3 million. The available award is 1.9. The latest cost estimate for this project is 1.8. So we're really close. So that would answer any questions you might have, and then I would ask that you approve the schematic designs for both projects when we're done.
Questions?
So once these are done, every school in the district will have secure entrance?
Well, at the elementary level, Weber really, it has a control, but it isn't a direct entrance into the office. But even, and at Hills, we approved that one, you know, so all the schools really are really close. And the high schools won't have direct entrance, but they have controls from the office. Junior highs, southeast right now, and again, it's a mess, I know, but we're gonna have it ready. Scouts honor. And it's a mess. Okay? Working hard. I got to tell you, the head custodian Saturday was there waxing floors Saturday morning. He got married Saturday afternoon.
Wow.
That's how hard they're working. Okay, I mean everybody, top to bottom in our district. I can't thank Jeff Barnes enough. He's out there riding herd and all our guys, and it's just been a summer to remember. Yeah. So, but anyway, Southeast is getting a new secure entrance. Northwest, the plan, when you see it next week, you're going to see a secure entrance. North Central has a secure entrance. So yeah, except at the high school level, and we've got one little project to pick up at the elementary level. Long answer to a short question.
So just because it is part of Appendix 9, I don't have any other questions about the two schools that you presented on tonight, but since we're few short days away, can you just run through a quick update of in-progress projects and if you think they'll be
Sure. They have to. Thanks, Walt.
ready and done?
Sure. Well, I'll have to do it from memory, but I think I can do it if I just start at the north end of town and work south. How's that? All right, so at the very far end, we have Grand Elementary School, and I was there, I didn't make it yesterday, I was there Friday afternoon with Steve. We walked through it. And I wouldn't say I got the best warm fuzzy, but it's warm and it's close and the furniture's there and they're getting set up and the custodians have started cleaning and all the furniture's there. It's in the library, it's in the classrooms. The teachers, we turned them loose tomorrow. We said they could come in tomorrow. So they'll get their room set up, the custodians will finish cleaning. Now, having said that, the contractors are working in the center hallway and they're kind of backing out of the building. You know, they're working on the 2-floor staircase. It's looking really good. And they're working on the Johnson controls, you know, the hookups that we do to make sure everything works right. And the floors, the gym looks great, the cafeteria, it's all there. The cafeteria furniture's there. It's really come together. Now, there's a little bit of work on the outside. They actually started the playground yesterday. We didn't know if we were going to have it done before school started, but they started.
That's great.
That was going to be one of my questions, is that I've had people ask them when's the playground going to be done.
They moved it up 2 weeks.
So,
When will it be
yeah,
finished?
when will you think it'll be finished?
In 2 weeks.
2 weeks from today?
All right,
Yeah.
that's pretty
Okay,
good.
which is a
Maybe-
lot better than what I've been told was online, which
You
said
know,
a year to 6
if they-
months. So.
If they pushed it to 3, so what? It's better than what we expected, and it really, you know, the hard surfaces are down. They even got the lines painted on the hard surface for dodgeball, things like that. So they're still grading. They'll probably put the seed down next week. You're going to see them spray this green substance, and it's called hydromulch. You've seen it on the interstate maybe. And there's seed in that. And so it's just the right time of year to grow seed. Late August, early September is perfect, so it worked out. But you'll see a lot of dirt when you go up to the groundbreaking, but it'll be really, really close. All the concrete work's done. Exterior handrails are going in. It's looking good. We're going to have school. I
think you said dodgeball? I'm not sure we play dodgeball anymore.
Four square, whatever you call
Okay,
it.
no, just be sure. Whipping those.
I'm 69.
On their own, they may be doing.
I'm 69 years old, and, you know, we used to do things different when I was.
But I will tell you, when you go out there, and this is a shout out to the guys on our paint crew, and Pat in particular, he went out and investigated a whole bunch of new games and actually came up with one on his own and has a template for it. And if you're out on the playground at Mann, or you're out on the playground at Christine Grant, you'll see these in there. And maybe one of the neatest things that they have is it's an action activity loop. So as the kids are traveling around it, it actually, if you think kind of those para courses that are out there, you're skipping here and hopping there and jumping here and tiptoeing up the stairs at Mann. So you'll see a lot of that out on the playgrounds, and they have all that painted right now.
It's going to be ready. You know, we're going to have school. Ken's feeling good. I think
good.
Steve and I felt it was going to be presentable. Okay.
And we're not going to have ceiling tiles falling on kids or anything like that, or anything.
Why would we have that happen?
Excuse me?
Why would that happen?
Well, I'm asking you.
No, not to my
No,
knowledge.
and there's not
Everything's
going
done
to,
properly.
we're going to have a clean, safe site
So if you're
for
inferring
all
that-
concerned.
Yeah, if you're inferring that the work was done too fast and unsafe, I don't think that's the case. It
No,
was done safe.
my question is I just wanted an answer that it's going to be safe for all concerned, students and
Safe
staff.
for everybody, all the security systems, all the life safety systems have been inspected as safe building. It's all the current codes. Matter of fact, we got a temporary occupancy yesterday, so it's okay. Until the outside's done, then we get a permanent one. But all the systems have been inspected. So the north end moving south, north central, looking really, really good. Those additions, that contractor did a nice job. The new music room, the new art room, the new science rooms are really nice, well equipped. I'd love to teach science in one of those rooms. It's really nice. And the new library cafeteria addition is an excellent, excellent finish. There is one little hiccup. We may know more tomorrow, is the library furniture's not been delivered yet, okay? But we certainly can start school without library furniture, or even if it comes the day before school. It may take a little setup. IPI is a little behind, and they're having a tough time guaranteeing the delivery of that. And as same with Southeast. So the library furniture is really the only questionable thing that's left. Other than that, I walked down through the new gym. It's got that Carver Hawkeye feel, you know, I came in from the top. And the locker rooms are really nice. Fitness room looks great. It's a nice project. But again, the contractors are outside, all the concrete's down, but they're out there doing the final grading and dirt work. And next time you go up there, if you're not familiar with North Central, the back of the school was kind of a ravine down into a ditch that goes over to Van Allen. There's a creek down through there. We actually took a huge section of that and took all the excess dirt from Grant, the excess dirt from North Central, and then a lot of dirt from Liberty. And we actually raised that up back there and built a new practice field. So there's more play area. We've almost doubled what was there. So next time you drive by, you drive down the west side, turn right, and look up there in the north end of that building, and we made a tremendous improvement at North Central with dirt. But it's what it takes. Jumping sideways a little bit, Garner had 2 duplex units and a single unit that are removed. They're no longer there. They got moved to Kirkwood. So at Kirkwood, we did those units, plus we kept a duplex that was there. So there's 7 temporary classrooms at Kirkwood. So part of the school is taken down. We're building a 4-classroom addition at Kirkwood. We're building a music room addition at Kirkwood. The central core, the hallways, same as we've done in other schools. Lucas is a good example, where we actually have to go in and demolish the ceiling and put in all new mechanicals to service all the new heating and cooling devices. So when they come back to school, parts of the building are going to be cordoned off, and the corridors are going to look like they're under construction, because they are. And it goes through the whole school year and into next summer before it's finished. So it's a partially completed job, but they will build temporary walls and partitions, and students will not be able to access any area under construction. It just may look like they're under construction, but the area they're in, where there's students, there won't be any contractors. A lot of dirt, a lot of demolition work, a lot of cleaning going on there. Brand new head custodian, but he's doing a great job. Anita thinks he's done a wonderful job there. I walked the building with Anita the other day, and she seemed to be happy. I hope she's still happy, but it's going okay. So moving from Kirkwood kind of laterally, let's move over to Shimmick. And Shimmick is getting a 6-plex. They moved the furniture in today or yesterday?
into the sixplex, so the furniture's there. They're building ramps, they're doing a little dirt work. We had to add a sewer line, electric line. Mid-American's under the gun right now, they got a lot going on, so we're waiting on Mid-American to get the power hooked up. They came today? Great. So, I rely on Jeff for a lot of information. He's the guy that's out there really getting it done. What's that? Lincoln. Yeah, we'll go south. How about if we go to Man? Then I'll go, okay. From Shimmick, we'll go down the road, we'll go to Man. Man's done. They're still doing punch list stuff. I expect some punch list stuff after they move in. They were short a few things, but it's 99% there. The outside's done, the playground's in, sod's down twice. They let it die the first time and I made them replace it. So they got it down, they've been keeping it wet. Landscaping looks good. I think Julie Robinson is in seventh heaven. She loves her building. It's such a total transformation on the inside you won't recognize. Like Longfellow had the library out in the middle of the corridor, but we added an art room, we added a music room, we added a media center, we added a gym, a storm shelter gym, we added administration, the secured entrance, and compliments to the architects that the new addition really does complement the old building, and it's new and a little contemporary at the same time, but it worked. So it's a very nice building. Again, last minute details, clean it up. Then we go sideways again to Lincoln. Lincoln's the building that's the total transformation. I mean, we took the old building, and you remember the ravine issue, and the hill, and we put a new building on this side, and from this side it looks like a new building, and from this side it looks like an old building. And you have to drive all the way around the circle to get the feel for both sides. But when you go into Lincoln, and you go back in those classrooms on the north end and the classrooms on the east side, the view that you have of the trees and the landscaping, it's awesome. It really is. I mean, it just opened that building up and it made it feel like a real building, and it's done. And it looks really good. But again, there are little details on the outside. The playground's under construction. It may not be done because they're building a terraced playground, so they're still working on that. And again, all the furniture's there, everything's set up. Julie's running that building as well, and she was just kind of in awe of the whole thing. It's just really a nice transformation. Again, that was Design Alliance's building. They did a nice job with it. And Man was Will's building, and so kudos to him too. They turned out nice. So from Lincoln, we'll go south a little bit and go to West High School. West High School is a multi-year job, and a lot of interior work, a mess. Corridors are a mess. But the corridors are what we're focused on right now, getting ready for school, because we've taken some classrooms offline. They'll work on those classrooms during the year. We started at the top of the building, we're working our way down. There's 10 or 12 portable classrooms out in the back there that students are going to be using to full. And during the year, we'll bring those 10 or 12 back online and take 10 or 12 more off. It'll be next summer before West High School is done. But again, it's what we're doing to West High School. It really looks nice, and it did give Steve a little heartburn Friday. I had to hold his hand a little bit, say it'll be okay. Right?
Doing all right.
It's a mess.
Full recovery time.
Yeah. And I think we'll get there. Again, those custodians over there, we got one of the better ones over there, head custodian, and it's just, he'll pull it off. It'll be clean. Contractors have to get out of his way. When you clean a room and the contractor comes back and you got to clean it again, it's no fun. So you put it off as long as you can. You put it off till the week before school, and then you go in and clean that room. So hopefully the contractor's done in that room. That's what happens. So from West High, we'll go across town. City High, we're just getting ready to start. We have a meeting, I think, tomorrow or the next day to talk about the parking lot, and the contractor wanted the entire thing. The school didn't want to give him any, and so I just kind of cut it in half and said, this is what you get, make it work. And they wanted to shut down 4th Street, and I said, no, we're not going to shut down 4th Street. Students come in and out of that lot, but there's not going to be anything east of that. 4th Street is gone. That's all contractor stuff. So they'll work their way back, and they'll have to park in the streets. And the advantage is that when we finish with Tate at Hoover, then they'll get that parking lot, so they'll be able to use that. So they'll get a few back, and hopefully that'll be mid-year. So we're getting that one started, and while I'm talking about it, Tate's under construction. It's going great guns. The walls are up on the classroom addition. It gets a hardened roof. Those classrooms at Tate become a hardened storm shelter. It's not the gym, but the classrooms. Again, that's one of Will's jobs, and it's starting to pick up steam there. That contractor had a lot of other projects going, and we were kind of kicking them to get started. They finally got started, they finally got moving, and it's looking pretty good. And we're doing some interior work there. We're improving the secured entrance at the front door there as well. So you will enter that office as well. Tate, previous to that, you didn't. You went through a vestibule, but you didn't go into the office. So we're changing that. There's some other control issues there, some old issues up on the roof and windows. We're fixing those while we're there trying to improve the building. So from there you go to Southeast, and Southeast, again, that's a multi-year project. Right now, if you went to Southeast, you would just go, oh my. Because if you walk in and Chase did that today.
I was there today.
And if you walk in I heard about it. And if you walk in the front door, it's under construction. And the whole office wing is under construction. But beyond that are some new classrooms. They're really nice. And the corridor will be sealed off. The work will go on in the office, but they'll have a safe entrance down to those new classrooms, first and second floor. Oh, excuse me. And then at the other end of the building where the media center used to be, that's now the office. And there's another door down at that end of the building, which will become the front door. So that people don't have to come into the construction site. They will enter the office at the other end of the building. In the middle of the building, if you're familiar with it, there's a two-story stairwell on a little green roof. Right to the right of that, to the west of that, is a brand new media center. And that media center goes out into the courtyard, okay? And it's a two-story addition. Media center looks really great. Has some furniture. We're waiting on the rest, like I said earlier. And down below are new family and consumer labs and classrooms. Before that was just courtyard. So we added science rooms, we added family and consumer science rooms, we reconfigured some interior rooms. It's really gonna be a nice school. And you may recall we're using a 10-plex there during construction. If you go on down to the lower level, on the west side, we actually removed the hallway down there that students use to get from art and industrial art up to the classroom wing. We took it out because we had to bring materials in to build the two-story addition. The roof is back on it, but it is not closed in yet. It may not be closed in for another month or two, but when they're finally done in the courtyard, that'll be their top priority is to rebuild that corridor. But if you would make the long walk all the way around, you're gonna walk by a cafeteria that looks totally different. The ceiling was raised up and vaulted, and that partition wall was taken out, and it looks so much nicer than it did before. And eventually in phase 2, or Facility Master Plan 2.0, we're talking about maybe bumping that wall into the courtyard and making it even bigger. And then the kitchen would be remodeled, because the kitchen wasn't touched in this project. The band room down in the northeast corner, or southeast corner, was touched up a little bit. But again, we talked, if you may recall, about doing that in phase 2 as well. It was adding onto the band room, so that wasn't touched. If you're going around to the industrial arts, we cleaned that up. We took the floor up and found an old wooden floor under some of that, and it was just kind of strange how they did it. So we had to fill it back in. It was one of the change orders tonight, and make it better. Art room, we cleaned up. They both look a lot better, don't they, Sarah? So again, Sarah worked hard on that project. That's what's going on at Southeast. And now you go a little further south, not done yet. Alexandra got a 4-classroom addition, 2 and 2. Frankly, I was not real happy with the builder. The builder did Liberty Phase 2, he did Longfellow, they did Hoover East, they did Alexander, but I think they were a little over taxed this summer. They're doing Waukee High School. I don't think they gave it the attention they should have, but I got one of our construction managers, Joe Moore, did a nice job staying on it, put their nose in it, and we got it, it's done. But we wondered about it for a while. And just a lot of little things, little details. And I saw the punch list today, there's still 175 items that aren't done, but they're little things, and they claim they'll get them done this week, so.
Grantwood.
Wow. Holy smokes.
Oh, Grantwood, I forgot all about Grantwood. I've gone right over them, didn't I? Between Southeast and Alexander's Grantwood, thank you, Ruthie. I thought I had them all. Same thing as Kirkwood, okay? It's getting a music, but it's getting a music and art room edition, no classroom editions. The central corridors have been taken down. We put 2 duplexes there, so there's 4 temporary classrooms. We moved them from Alexander. They were down there, so we moved them north to Wood.
And so there'll be students out there all year long. We took down the northwest wing this summer and redid it. The furniture went back in, so they're getting it done. We're redoing all the mechanical air conditioning. If you're not familiar with Grantwood, there was an old gym before they built a new one. And we went inside of that gym and actually built a structure inside of it and created a mechanical mezzanine on top. And I think we're going to put a special needs classroom down below. It's real near where the special needs classroom used to be, but it's kind of in the middle of the building. So we created some extra space there, and we actually were creative about the mechanical space inside the building. We took a 2-story old gym and split it in half and made a second floor. So that was kind of a neat feature on that building. The new art and music room will be over by the public entrance into the community center where there's a preschool room and all that. That can be isolated, shut down just for community events, whatever. And a couple of nice rooms. And again, they'll have north windows.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not done. Liberty High School. Jump right over them. Thanks, Jeff. That's the only one I missed. And Grantwood. And Tayson Hoover, the old Hoover. We created a nicer office space for them. We got the building spick and span. It was looking good. So that's a nice building for them. Liberty, Phase 3, the 500 student addition on the east side. Remember, it was a U-shape, and they're filling that in, and so there's a courtyard. So they had to do a lot of the courtyard work first, in the sewer and water and all the things that have to go in there. And there's a kind of an outdoor classroom in that courtyard that's going to be really nice. And then the 2-story addition, they built the interior wall, and then they did a couple corridor walls, and they're set in steel. And then they'll set the outside wall, and then they'll put the roof on it. They're telling me they're going to have the roof on this winter. The way they're going, I don't doubt them. And that's McComas Lucina, and they built the high school. And they're doing that 500 student addition. Phase 2 was the athletic venue. Baseball, softball, tennis, soccer, discus shot, practice field, the bus maintenance office that's up there, the solar panels that are on it, that's all part of Phase 2. That's all going to be done for school. Now, should they play on baseball and softball this fall? Well, they don't have seasons, but they need to refrain from getting on that turf and soccer until next spring. So it really's had a full year to get rooted down and not torn up right away. But they're all pretty good about staying off of it. They wanted to practice and kept saying, nope, can't do it. But the dugouts are done, the press box, the bleachers, first class. Got it? Now you know why I'm going crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for that update. And with Lincoln being done, my conscience will finally be clear, because back in the early 90s, I helped put in the internet lines in there, the wired lines. And I told Steve this story, but that was the first school that Troy Hovey, he let me do on my own. And there's some, well, they're not there anymore, but there was a lot of random holes that were covered up with random electrical plates that didn't do anything, so.
You're talking about Lincoln?
Yes, Lincoln. I did. Those holes are gone.
I'm going to give you a secret feature you should look for when you go, okay? Go down the hallway, and there's all these nice blue lockers. And several of them actually cover up steel columns. We didn't want to expose the columns, so we hit it with a locker door. So it looks like a locker to be locked, but it's actually a steel column.
Oh, that's cool.
We're short a few lockers, but you can't see the steel columns.
That's cool.
So you hid it just like I hid my mistakes. The holes in the wall.
We did.
So. Appreciate that.
Paint hides a multitude of sins.
Yeah. With that, I would move to approve the Appendix 9 request as presented.
Second.
Okay, I'm ready to vote.
I had one more question.
Okay.
If we could, you were making a lot of comments about furniture and everything during all of this. Do we utilize any other vendors besides Prison Industries for furniture in our schools?
We do. A lot of science tables, or specialties, cafeteria tables sometimes, so there are other vendors. But when it comes to student desks, there's nobody that competes with them. They have a state contract. The University of Iowa uses them. Iowa State University uses them. We use them a lot. Des Moines uses them. I just think they had too much work this summer. But I've been to the plant up in Anamosa where they do a lot of their work in Fort Madison, and I've visited those shops. They build a quality product.
And the pricing is, they've got the state contract, so we don't have to competitively bid it, but there's nobody that can beat them price-wise.
Okay, any further comments or questions? We've got a motion and a second. Kim, we're ready to vote. Online voting is open. No, I'm coming. There.
All votes have been cast, and the motion carries with Directors Rutland, Ressler, Godwin, Clausen, Malone, and Eastham voting yea, and Director Hemingway voting nay.
Thank you. And Dwayne, one more thank you to you and your team and everyone who's working long days, weekends to get our schools ready for the start of school. So it's monumental accomplishment. Thank you all. You're a little tired, but thank you.
It's truly a team.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no
Yeah.
way you can say it. It's just
Yeah.
a team. It's a well off.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, we've got the fourth quarter financial report. Leslie?
Yes, just a couple comments about the report. It is presented on a cash basis, which means all of the end-of-year accruals have not been recorded. So it's just the transactions that physically were paid and processed through the year and not reflecting of those things. We're starting the audit in just under 2 weeks, and so that will be the final adjustments that I'll be working on, and then they'll be reviewed by the auditors at that point in time. So that audit process will finish up just shortly before September 15th, and then if you recall, you'll have a couple of items to approve after that for the special ed deficit and the ELL funding that will come at the end of September. So that's kind of a wrap-up and projecting out when you'll see some of those things coming out of from a financial perspective. Our expenditures are projecting a little higher than what we've had on the last 2 quarters. You know, at the end of the third quarter, we didn't have all of the increased costs for utilities because of the colder conditions. We're still working through getting all of the overtime paid for all the snow removal and all of those type of things, and so we had kind of a double whammy there this last year, and that was a couple $100,000 probably of costs there. Our sub-costs are a little higher than they have been in the past. You know, we noted that we had good utilization and good coverage, but that does come with a cost of actually having those people in the room as opposed to having empty classrooms or sending students to study halls. So it's a balancing act there, or at least a cost trade-off, you know, but we want people in those rooms teaching our students. So with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Questions from directors, comments? Hearing none, thank you very much for the report. We'll move on to the action item. We've got a transfer appeal. Our practice is traditionally to take no additional action, but I'd ask directors for any comments on the transfer appeal. Hearing none, we will take no action. We'll move into liaison report from directors. Anything folks would like to comment on?
Yeah. Went to the state fair for a couple of days this last week concerning a couple of things that some of the people said during community comments. Kind of sparked me to maybe comment on that. It's amazing the work and creativity and just of students and our young people in the state, especially in FFA. I'm impressed with annually when I go there, all the different projects that they do and the creativity, what they do with the scrap metal and other projects, woodworking projects and things like that. And when we had people from the community talk about trades education and things like that, I think we have to really pay attention to that. And also, I did talk with someone from the Chicago Tribune on some things, and he was talking about SROs and that, and he was saying that in Chicago, now I don't have any evidence to this or anything, but this is a reporter, and I take his word for what it is. He was saying that Chicago schools are trying to get them out of the schools. So or in areas, they're working to get them out. So to some of the commenters talking about that in other areas, that I need to research it more, but that was part of the discussion there. But I think there's real opportunities that our students are missing out on, and it's important that we recognize the significance of agriculture and what FFA does for students, not only just in the classroom, but also for travel and for leadership.
Thanks, Phil.
I'll make a few comments. Just want to, big thanks to everybody who was a part of that comprehensive equity plan development group. It was a lot of meetings over a long time. The work's not done yet, but it's important work, and I think it was done really well. The court-appointed special advocate breakfast was at, and just a big shout out for the CASAs. It was new to me about how effective these folks are, who are court-appointed advocates for kids in the foster care system. I just encourage everybody to look into that. Only about a third of the foster care kids in Johnson County have these folks, and it's really somebody who makes a difference in these lives of kids who very much fall through the cracks. And so just would encourage the public and folks to look into helping them out or even becoming a CASA. It's a really, it's a big deal in those kids' lives. And I had the advantage of going down to the UAN Steering Committee meeting in Des Moines and met some great board members and superintendents from across the state. I just want to reinforce that, sometimes you feel kind of isolated in this work, and to know that there's a group of districts out there dealing with, very much the same kinds of issues we're dealing with. And I was inspired by the passion in that room to these issues that we're talking about. And it was very much, I didn't know what to expect, frankly, of a group of superintendents. I didn't know they're all like our Mr. Murley. But the passion for kids was hardcore, and they were into it. And it's about the issues we were talking about inclusion, English language learners, refugees, kids on free and reduced lunch. So I was pretty inspired by the work that they do, and I'm glad we're a part of that. And then just one last thing to say to the public, as well here, we all got an email from the Juvenile Justice Youth Development Committee supporting kind of the work we're doing and also aligning with what many community members said here about SROs. And that was, that's a county group, that's an appointed committee, and so folks are chosen by the Board of Supervisors, very much speaking in support of not having SROs in our schools. And the email included a lot of good data, some of the best practices with that. So I just want to put a shout out there in public.
Anything else from folks? Appreciate those comments, JP and Phil. There's nothing else on liaison reports. We've got a number of agendas coming up. On the 20th, we have a closed session. Steve requested around evaluation. Then we follow that with a board retreat. Primary goals there to talk about how we accomplished our goals for this year, what our priorities and goals are for next year. We have a lot of work in front of us as a board. We heard tonight a number of times FMP 2.0. That's something we're going to have to discuss, among other things, and priorities for the group. So that's the board retreat and their closed session on the 20th. On the 27th, we've got an exempt session, another topic around the superintendent evaluation. Then we've got a board agenda that has only a consent agenda on it so far. And then we have a work session where we've got one topic, I think, Phil, that you'd requested around our OSHA resolution. I think that was from a previous agenda setting discussion. And so the 27th right now seems to be fairly light. Is there anything?
As much as I'd like to see that agenda stay light, I have a question. So we have talked about putting off the vote for the playground levy, and I'm blanking on it all of a sudden.
Pearl.
I kept wanting to call it Pebble, but the Pearl vote. So I don't know if we're going to discuss that at our retreat, but I want to make sure that we put on our agenda soon a timeline for that vote, because just because we've decided not to put it on this ballot, if we don't continue to work towards it, it won't be on any ballot we'll just keep putting it off. So I don't know if, if we want to ask our administrators to do a timeline, or maybe that's too soon, but maybe we're talking about that at the retreat.
Yeah, let's cover it as a priority for discussion at the board retreat, because, I mean, that was one of the issues I think we were facing, was the work it was going to take to get into
Exactly.
doing the work to prep the community for what we're going to actually use those funds for and that kind of thing. And so we just hadn't done that work. We need to make it a priority, and I think it fits into that board retreat discussion.
So we'll talk about then when we're going to do that work?
I think we talk about it as a priority amongst everything else that we have, and we weigh it against the other priorities that we have, and we decide if it's something that is a, Q1, Q2, Q3 kind of thing, or, and we just need to get a feel for the priorities that the board has. That would be my take on that one.
On the, excuse me for kind of switching gears, I'm looking at the time for the board retreat. There's going to be a closed session before it?
Correct.
What time is that supposed to start?
4:30 is what's been slated. We were going to have that closed session tonight, but we had the other closed session that we needed to attend to, and so we postponed that closed session on superintendent evaluation. Is the 4:30 timeframe a problem? Because we could start at 5 and for the other item and put the closed session at the end?
That would help me, but
Okay.
I'm only one of 7, so, but,
What do others think? I think we can start at 5 and just push everything back
super.
30 minutes.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
That would help me make it on time.
Great, thank you. Okay, those are upcoming agendas. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.